Now, the rest of the story.
Welcome back, guys. So I'm gonna do some pre-harvest tillage with the poor man's tillage machine down at the valley. They're calling for 3 days of rain. Managed to cut myself. I don't even know where that came from. Really simple, really straightforward. Single shank ripper, mole. As this ripper is being pulled through the ground, it's going to be leaving a tunnel behind it. And my goal is, I'm only down here really just to do the reclaimed lower bottom. Now we had, I don't know, we had inches of rain before I was able to make my last cutting down here. So we had about two weeks worth of rain being sporadically spread out, but it was wet enough where I couldn't have come down right after we were done making the hay down here and have done this. I'm not even 100% sure I can do it today. My goal is to try, get it done, and I'll be done down here probably until the end of harvest. The whole goal of that is to try to get my ground to dry out quicker next spring. I've done it across different areas of the farm last year and in previous years. Definitely feel like it helps. Not super crazy how it leaves the ground afterwards, depending on the conditions you get going forward, but we'll see how that works out here in just a few minutes. I had every reason to be concerned about it plugging up in these low spots where there's no regrowth whatsoever, where it's just residue, because that had just really dried out not that long ago. That's where the residue likes to hang up, because I don't have a blade cutting through, making a slice in the soil before I drive through. And then you get the bunching up, like, see, it's trying to. That's also a product of me trying to drive slower. I'm only going about 2.5 miles an hour, and you can see that's all grass at least, so it'll help deteriorate. But when it plugs, you get stuff like that, and that's not really what I want to leave down here either. But it just confirms my worries that leaving all that residue there, see, problem. It's fine until it's all you can really see down there. But the regrowth that's there, we never did make any of this, so the regrowth is actually helping hold down the residue. Going through those low spots is really what's getting me, and that's going to be my last pass down that far. Then I'll be doing shorter passes, not doing the straight back and forth like I wanted. I ultimately went with starting along the hillside, and then every pass I'm judging it off of my wheel fenders. From where I'm sitting, I can see my last pass, and I just do that on both sides, and it's giving me an equal distance. Once again, poor man's marker arms, but it works. This doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to be exactly spaced apart, and with the rain that's coming, I just want to see something done, and I really believe that this is going to help this drain out. The slot is leaving a gap in the soil at the moment before it actually closes back up or settles. Really isn't a big concern, other than now that it rains, hopefully it'll be able to soak down into the tunnel we're making underneath, which I've already checked. I can get my fist down into the tunnel we're making, so allow it to drain out down to the lower end of the field where it'll be able to dry out, getting the water away from the spots where it just wants to sit and collect is the problem. I need to be able to disperse, so it's being able to actually evaporate or soak in. Well, the passes are getting shorter, about half as long as what I originally started doing, but about 6 or 8 more turns here and I'm gonna probably call it. I'll make 2 passes up in that upper low spot, but it's really greened up nice, and it's working up really good too. Granted, the back window open, hydraulic oil is definitely warm. I'm hitting the diff lock with the front wheel assist locked in. I'm not really working the engine too hard, more or less just letting it do its thing. With the amount of residue and leftover residue that's here, even now it's still trying to plug a little bit. We're going slow enough that hopefully it just kind of bubbles up and it allows the residue to roll past the knife, the ripper, the shank. Has worked in the last 4 passes. This will be the last time I'm down here in the bottom for other than just looking to see what's going on. It's already October 11th. The next time I'll be down here to do anything other than haul hay home will be spreading dry fertilizer, because just a quick snapshot of what my intentions are for next year. If even I can't get down across the bottom with dry fertilizer at the beginning of the year or early spring, I am going to make it a priority to at least spread the other 2/3 of the farm with dry fertilizer. Because first crop, there's no reason that first cutting shouldn't out yield everything else I make. And with second cut out yielding first, not by much, but it still did it by what, 3 bales? That's really unimpressive, because we had enough moisture early on that first crop should have outdone everything. Last year, first crop ran what, over 400 bales? That might be a new program for me. I mean, unless we get in a year with excessive rain, but dropping back to only 2 cuttings down here would save wear and tear on the baler, the disc bind, rake, tedder, and then just come back in after first cut, hit it harder with my liquid 32% nitrogen that I apply with the sprayer. I was applying 20 gallons down here, like 15 up on the hill, and I was not informed. I actually did a little bit more research, and that program works all right, but I'd get a lot more return by applying closer to 30 gallons to the acre. At least down here, there's always the root, everything is rooted down to moisture, at least in the bottom, that at least giving it the nitrogen to come back down here is definitely beneficial, and at least giving the upper part of the farm a better chance to come back. Even if it turns into something a lot more likely, I did a little bit of that in the past, but making 3 cuttings off the bottom, you're giving it the nitrogen, the goodies to come back for 3 cuts, and just intend for that for the rest of the year anyway, of only applying enough for 3 cuttings on the bottom, and then hitting the bench ground, the other 2/3 of the farm, with the intentions of only cutting those twice. So it's every year is going to be different. I'm hoping next year is a bit better than this year. Would have liked to have kept more of my better producing hay, or my better quality hay from first cut, but I sold first cut with the intentions that second cut, and it did, by the way, second cut would have had much better quality to it if I didn't get shorted by the weather. Shorted meaning that I got rained out for 2 weeks. Will I be able to survive? Yes. Looking like I'm still going to be able to sell a little bit of hay. When I say a little bit of hay, I'm thinking maybe 50 bales. And just feeding more corn stalks and having the corn stalks candied down with that molasses to give them a little bit more feed there. Because at least all the stalks that come off the home farm that are fed to my cattle, it's all going right back into the field anyway by next spring. All that manure that's on that pile there is going back to Rockville anyway. Well, the only downside is lot space for me and having to manage my cattle in more of a confined area. But I do sincerely hope that I get a chance. I got 3 different pastures that I could put cattle in next year and start utilizing. Managing my cattle a little bit, well, I'm already managing a lot, but managing my cattle a little bit more just in regard to having more access to some pasture. I could send some cow-calf pairs out to them. Or maybe I'll end up putting the bulls out there in the off season. I can get away with that. You know, to be completely honest, I could do that. Utilize the pasture with the bulls in it during January to June. I did plug up though. And then I'd have to supplement them out in the pasture, but at least I could put them down there and bed them and everything. They'd be fine. They'll have shelter. And then during the summer, when I have my cows down in there, my cows can graze it off. I could get away with utilizing it better. But I know you guys probably don't see it. Spread that a little bit more. They were calling for a chance of rain at 3 o'clock. I was watching to the west. The west is that way, okay? Well, when the camera's turned that way, of course my window's dirty, I think the rain is coming from the south because it's blue sky to the north. It's actually clearing up to the west, but it's actually getting pretty dark to the south. And beginning of that, I got hit again. I'm trying to break up the big wad of residue that I just drug up. Getting this done before the rain hits would be great. I might not be able to get back down here this fall if this floods again. Not flood, but water doesn't like leaving this section. I've said it enough times to my regular viewers, and I can tell when I'm dragging the ripper through it. I don't think this has ever had tillage done to it, ever. And this is a form of tillage, obviously. You can really hear that ground crumbling. In all seriousness, you can really hear the ground crumbling while I'm pulling it through here. It's pulling those roots. My gosh, that it took till the third pass. It took till the third pass from the hillside, getting away from the tree roots, before I didn't see any roots coming up that I was busting up. So definitely just bringing this soil up, getting some oxygen down to the roots. Where I had ripped last fall, down on the lower end. Well, actually up here, you can see right to the line where I ripped last fall. The grass is actually coming back greener. It's a couple inches taller than everything else around it. So roots actually being able to dig down a little bit better. I don't know. But if I had a no-till, like 5-shank no-till subsoiler, I think I'd actually get some benefit from running that down here too. I'd probably rig up some mole plows in the back of each of them, but I really think the mole plow is a big benefit to me. And here, this is that muddy area. And I almost got stuck over there in a pretty ugly fashion, because when the tires are still moving and the tractor is not, you need to really start making some life decisions really quick, and shoving it in reverse and backing back out of it definitely helped me. All the residue that was there is what was holding me up, but we didn't do too bad. I cut my finger open pretty good. It's actually, that might be a super glue situation. It actually just quit bleeding. I don't know, I hope you guys appreciate watching the channel. Everything that I'm trying to show, when I show it, when I'm able to show it. Not a whole lot of people really talk or know about these mole plows when I was bringing them up, especially when I was looking for it. I definitely feel it helps. And it seems I only use it one day a year, for the most part. That first year I had it, I picked up my corn bottom, and I actually took it over there, and I was using it in the spring, which really isn't recommended. But I actually drug it across the bottom over there, and it had some spots that were holding water, and I haven't had any issues really since. So I think rippers have their place, but even like the inline 5-shank rippers, they're not as commonplace as they were a few years ago. People are starting to get away from them even. Which I'm personally in the camp of, I'm just going to end it here. I'm personally in the camp of all tillage practices are just going to go in one big full circle. And what's going to happen is we've gone away from chiseling, from plowing to chiseling to ripping to no-till. Starting to hear more regular chiseling again. Back to where you start seeing chemical resistant weeds. And then the only way to bury them or get rid of them or deal with them is going to be to go in with a mold bore plow and bury those plants, bury those seeds, and you're going to start seeing not a huge resurgence on plowing, but I think you'll see some guys start to go back with it on a case-by-case basis. But this is it for Valley video. I'm going to actually drive a little bit faster because that went from kind of dark to really dark. And the last thing I ever want to have happen is be down here when a bad storm hits. So, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. We'll talk to you later.